So what, I mean, this, well, you know, this kind of talk about the spirit of the times, the zeitgeist, right? The Zeit is time, Geist is spirit, again. Weltgeist. Think about any of those. Poltergeist, you know, okay, you can see that they're using that word as well, but at the same time, it's more of a scary spirit, you know, that's causing something in the house or something. But so, what is Geist? What is an individual Geist?
Is that like a hive mind or something?
Here we go.
Collective, like
So-
the Borg in Star Trek?
So Hegel's phenomenology, the phenomena, right? So the study of the phenomena. Remember, that's all we can know. Thank you, Kant. Thank you, Hume. You know, you can see where we're in on this narrative that we're following, right? We can only know phenomena, right? So let's study phenomena, and specifically, let's study the spirit. What causes spirit? Well, let me see if I can go further in. I went too far. Let's go back up. Oh. Okay. Let me talk about sense certainty for a minute. Well, the spirit, is your own ich, your own self, that has reached a certain age where Hegel assumes you have sense certainty. And that's when you're an infant and you're a baby, not quite two, but you already have a sense of certainty that when you're hungry, hopefully, your mom feeds you. If you're uncomfortable, mom knows how to fix it. There's hopefully a good relationship between you and someone else. So the spirit starts off as a human infant and gets to a certain point where we reach the terrible twos. And what happens at the terrible twos? This is consciousness, by the way. So notice that we can translate the spirit as consciousness in this experience. So what we're studying in the phenomenology of spirit is the evolution of an individual spirit, right? Starting off as a baby, having sense certainty, and then roughly around the twos, he doesn't say the twos, but at a certain point,
I know they wrote, we were like infants starting out to learn from trial and error. That's what I wrote.
we end up being able to imagine the opposite. And when mom says, come here, you can say to yourself, no. You come up with the negation, the not. By the way, this is, I think, Jean-Paul Sartre's favorite part of the whole story here. If you ever get a chance to read Sartre, his book is Being and Nothingness. Being is everything, obviously, and nothingness is the negativity coiled in the heart of being like a worm. He's French. That's fun, actually, right? And what is that? It's our ability to say no. Because no, for Sartre, breaks the causal chain of events. It's like magic. here's the chain of events, and all of a sudden something out of no place says no and stops the chain of events. For at least a month, I was convinced by Sartre that yes, that is why human beings have free will. It was fun for a while, right? He convinced me. Maybe it still is convincing to some people, right? But so that no, where does it come from? But once you're in your terrible twos, humans can say no. They can imagine the opposite of whatever the situation is. Fiction. I mean, the whole idea of fictional things. We just had a weekend celebration of fictional things. I had about 8 different family groups come to my driveway where I sat there dressed as an old man. That was the costume I wore, dressed as an old man. And I had a big cauldron full of candy. Of course, I did have a big spider sitting on it. But I told the kids as they came up, don't worry about the spider. She only eats people in October. And the one kid said, but it is October. Still, it was fun. But I handed out lots of candy. And if they didn't take enough, I gotta get rid of this stuff. All this candy. But people are using their imagination, different, people coming up dressed as different, creatures and so on. And, the one person came up and she was wearing that mask that I thought was from the Japanese anime, the scary, ghost-like anime, with the kind of saggy mouth and black on white.
Are you talking about Spirited Away?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Well, she replied, no, it's Scream, from Scream.
Yeah.
Is that the name of that Spirited Away? No, that's a different movie.
No, that's the horror movie, the slasher. Scream.
Well, so that's what she was thinking. But this is all fiction. So humans can completely come up with fiction. I don't know if dogs do that. I mean, dogs do respond to their names. They can say no. Is that fictional? Is that a dog saying, he wants me to come over there and I'm not going to? Right? I mean, dogs can do that. Well, I have a St. Bernard. They're famous for that. I mean, that's like a St. Bernard's thing, Come on in. No. Yeah, that's St. Bernard's, right? And that's the female voice, right? No. Because they're big and they're, I love her though. She's quite a character. But boy, she is hard to get. She loves the van, so when we come back from a drive and she's lying with the bench seats in the back of the van, it's her favorite place. Very difficult to get her to come in. And it's not like, you can just go and pick up over 150. I don't know how much she weighs. The last time I got a weight on her, she was over 150 pounds. I can't pick her up. So if she doesn't want to come in, she knows that you're not going to be able to pick her up, so she'll just lie down, and she knows she gets away with whatever she wants. But I don't know if that's fiction. I mean, this is hard for me, right? But so, terrible twos, you end up with, where am I? Here we are. Terrible twos, you end up with, it's a not this, or is something superseded, and hence not as nothing, which is what Sartre likes to take it as, but as a determinate nothing, a specific nothing. Not nothing at all, not this, right? That's just fun. So this is him dealing with perception, consciousness. Notice this is a chapter as I'm going through, but I want to get to the development of self-consciousness, because that's the next stage. That's the stage where you have to be So by the way, this is the super sensible world. So if you read this, we've got appearances as we see them, but the super sensible world is our imagination, really. Seeing and hearing have been lost to consciousness, and as perception, consciousness has arrived as thoughts, which it brings together for the first time in the unconditioned universal. Okay. If you ever want to read through this, it would be fun to do, by the way. But let me get to this. The part of the book I'm trying to get to is the most famous, and if you have a typical intro to philosophy book, it will have this section as the main piece from Hegel. I probably could go through it faster if I used the okay. So self-consciousness. So notice previously we're talking about consciousness, assuming children have consciousness. Remember, Peter Singer famously thinks if it's 2 years old, it's not a person yet. So if the mother wants to kill it, where's the difference between that and abortion, right? Remember, I'm also arguing that Peter Singer's not suggesting we really do kill kids up to 2. He's just using that as a scare thing. Well, so why are you interested in abortion if you're afraid of this, right? Now that's where I think he's going with that. But once you become aware of yourself as a self, remember, first you need the language so that you can have in your consciousness a thinking about what yourself is. You have to have a definition that this is me. I want to find the... We have to see how the shape of self-consciousness first makes its appearance. How does it first arrive? Shoot. There are different translations. Shoot. I want to actually quote from it. So, there's a beautiful section in here, and I'm trying to find it, and I'm not having much luck. Okay. Here we go. So he's already explained what he's doing ahead of time, but I'll try to explain it when we get into this. So self-consciousness exists in and for itself. In and for itself. It's actually 2 stages in self-consciousness, because thank you Kant and Fichte and Jung for the whole chain, we have this sense that there's a self that's having these perceptions. And theoretically, we can't see that self. Although Hegel and his contemporaries are going to argue that the understanding we have in our consciousness is that self. So it's not really something hidden. We can actually know it just fine, thank you, right? But self-consciousness exists in and for itself. The in itself is the self that's perceiving, but the for itself is all the things that I think of as me. The definition I've given of myself. So, Bill Jamison, 74 years old, married, retired Army, Russian linguist, all those things. I put the whole thing together. My Vita, right? My conception of myself. That's the for itself, because that stuff is all in my consciousness for the in itself to perceive. There's an inner me that's thinking of myself as all of this stuff, right? So that's my for itself. And what happens is I have a dialogue going on between that. So there's two of me inside of me. It's one me, but there's parts to it that are going through a dialogue. So self-consciousness exists in and for itself when and by the fact that it so exists for another. That is, it